Today we're going to field strip or disassemble an M&P 9 Shield Plus. Then we're going to clean it, lubricate, and reassemble. So first thing as usual is to remove the magazine, unload the gun. With the slide lock back, verify there is no round in the chamber and no magazine in the gun. Now that the slide is locked back, we need to rotate the sear deactivation lever. If you look down inside the ejection port, you'll see the yellow lever there. So you want to take a small screwdriver and you want to rotate that lever forward so it looks just like that. Now rotate the takedown lever forward, grab the slide, press back a little bit until the slide stop disengages, and now you can slide the slide right off the front of the frame. Now compress the recoil spring and guide rod just a little bit and lift it up. Pull that out. Now the barrel can be removed just like that. And that's as much disassembly as you need to do to clean the M&P Shield Plus. You don't really need much to clean your Shield Plus. You're going to need some kind of a cleaner. I'm going to use Hobby's No. 9 gun bore cleaner. I like to put it in a dispenser. This is a Menda pump dispenser. It pumps up a little at a time so you don't contaminate the whole container of solvent there. You're going to need some kind of a gun oil. I like original gun oil. It has a very low odor. It's non-toxic. You don't have to worry about that. You're going to need some cotton swabs. I like these dual tips. They have a pointy end and a regular end so you can get in all the tight spaces inside the gun. And to clean the inside of the bore, you're going to need some kind of a bore brush and a rod and some patches that we're going to push through there. If you don't have a rod and brushes and patches, you can always pick up a universal handgun cleaning kit like this one. This is from Breakthrough Clean Technologies. I just picked this up and it's got everything in there that you're going to need. It's got different size brushes and it's got a rod that you put together. I'll show you that. I'll be using that later in the video. And it even has some oil in here for you to use. Makes it nice and compact. Another optional item that I use and I'll show you how to use is called a bore snake. If you have a bore snake, I'll show you how that saves you a lot of time. You don't have to put a bunch of patches through your gun barrel to use the bore snake. And of course you need a bunch of cotton rags. I just cut up a t-shirt into little squares like this and use them throughout the process. Alright, now that the gun is field stripped, we're going to clean each piece and then we're going to lubricate and put it back together. So let's start with the barrel. So the barrel is going to be the dirtiest part of the gun, so it's the most important to clean, especially the inside of the barrel, which is called the bore. I'll just show you. So you can see inside the barrel, those grooves is what makes the bullet spin and stay steady. But you can see kind of the crud and dirt that is built up in there, and I only put maybe 50 or 100 rounds through this gun, so we're going to clean that all up. Also, this ramp here is where the rounds slide up into the chamber here, so we want to make sure that's nice and clean. What I'm going to use to clean the bore or the inside of the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus barrel is I'm going to use Hobby's No. 9 gun bore cleaner. This is an excellent, inexpensive solvent. I put it in a dispenser. This is a Menda pump dispenser. It keeps the solvent from getting contaminated because it just pumps up a little at a time into this dish at the top. Very easy to use. I have some 9mm size patches. These are about 2 inches by 2 inches cotton patches. If you don't have some kind of a rod like this with a jag and then a cleaning brush that you can put on there, you can always pick up a gun cleaning kit. I just picked this one up. It's a Breakthrough cleaning kit. It's got everything in here that I'm going to need. It's even got a cleaning oil. I'm not going to use that today. I'm going to use the Hobby's No. 9 because it does a better job. But this has everything in it that I'm going to need. I got my little rod here. It comes with different size brushes and mops for pistols, and then it has a nice rod that you just screw together. So I'm going to need a brush. I'll pick out the 9mm, and I'm going to need a loop to hold the patches. As you'll see, this actually comes with patches, this kit. So if you get this kit, you don't need to buy patches separately. Not a lot of patches there, but there's a few to get you started. All right. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to put the loop on there. Since I'm going to use some solvent, I'm going to put some rubber gloves on. You could also use something like original gun oil, which I use a lot. This is non-toxic. I don't always use gloves when I use this because it's not really an aggressive solvent like the Hoppe's number 9. First, we want to soak the inside of the barrel with solvent. So we just get a patch, feed it through the loop like that, and then I just pump up some solvent on here, get the patch pretty damp, and then I just push the patch through. And because it's a loop, I can push it both ways. Right now I'm just trying to get the inside of the barrel wet with solvent. So you can see some of the dirt that comes out of there. Just get rid of that. Typically I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes to kind of work to loosen the dirt. Then I'm going to take the loop off, put the appropriate sized brush on there, and then after this has sat for a little bit, I'm going to push the brush through, back and forth a few times. This will loosen all the dirt that's in all those grooves in there. Alright, then after I do that a few times, take the brush off, put this back on. Get some more patches wet. Alright, and now we're going to push it through again. And now even more dirt's going to come off because we just loosened it with the brush. So you can kind of see how much dirt is in there. And then just continue to push a few patches through here with solvent on them. Whoops, I got 2 there. Get a little more solvent. Alright. You basically just want to do this a couple of times till the patch comes out relatively clean. It's already pretty clean. There's not a whole lot of dirt on there, so that worked pretty well. Once it comes out clean, take a couple of dry patches, push some dry patches through there to get all the solvent out, as well as the remainder of the dirt. That's looking pretty good. Then I'm going to take a rag and wipe it all off, get all the solvent off of there. We want to make sure the outside got pretty clean too. And always make sure you get your feed ramp nice and shiny. That solvent will have worked on that too, so that's working pretty good. If you look through there now, that is pretty shiny. Now that's a clean barrel. Alright, we are good to go. We wipe down the outside. We are now done with the barrel. If you want to save a lot of time cleaning the barrel, you can always use a bore snake. Saves a lot of time cleaning the bore or the inside of the barrel. A bore snake is basically like a long quilted cotton snake. It's got your brushes built into it already. So what you would do for your barrel, you would just take it. You still want to get some solvent in there, so you just get a cotton swab and just slop a little solvent in there to get things started. Then let it sit for a few minutes, and then after a few minutes just take your bore snake, drop that through, just run your bore snake through 2 or 3 times. The brushes are going to do the job of loosening up all the carbon and other crud deposited in there. Then the rest of this bore snake is going to act like a whole bunch of patches that you're putting through there. So a couple of passes through there, and your barrel's going to be pretty clean. So that's a way you can save a lot of time cleaning your barrel. I'll put links in the description down below for all of these items. Alright, next we're going to clean the slide. Now the user manual just says to take a cloth and kind of wipe this down, and if it's not too dirty you can do that, but I'm going to do a little bit better than that. I'm going to get this clean with a little bit of solvent as well. So what I typically do here, I'll get my gun brush, I'll dip it in a little bit of solvent, and I'll just kind of brush the inside here just lightly. You want to especially get into the slide cuts. Those are the grooves on the inside of either side where the slide moves along the frame when it's firing. So you want to especially get in there. These bristles work great for that. And just kind of spread it around all the places inside that might have got dirty. And make sure you get the breech face. This is the breech face. This is where the firing pin comes out and where the extractor that pulls the brass out is. So you want to get this nice and clean. So just kind of brush that area with some solvent. Alright. Once you get a little solvent in there, not a lot, just a little bit, just get it wet with solvent. Clean off your brush if you want. Alright. Once it's wet with solvent, after a minute or two, get yourself some of your cotton rags and wipe everything as best you can just with the rag in your hands. Just get everything as good as you can. Now you don't want to you want to be careful getting Hoppe's number 9 directly onto your sights. Okay, you don't want to put solvent directly on your sights. I'm not sure if it's going to damage them or not. Just keep it to the metal parts. If you want to clean your sights, you can use something like original gun oil. This gun oil is safe for pretty much all materials that guns are made of. So just kind of wipe everything as best you can. And to get in all the nooks and crannies in here and in this groove real good, just get a cloth, kind of lay it in there, and then get your gun brush and use the bristles in the gun brush to push the cloth into the grooves. So you can kind of just work it back and forth like this. And the bristles of the brush are going to push the cloth into those grooves and get down in all those places that you couldn't get to with your finger. That also works well. That also works well for the breech face, to get that nice and clean. Alright, that did a pretty good job. And then just follow up with your cotton swabs. You got your pointy end here. That'll get right down in all the corners to get all the rest of that solvent out of there. Just use a couple of cotton swabs and you'll be good to go. You don't have to get every little bit of solvent out of there. Just do the best you can. It's not going to hurt anything in there. Okay, make sure that breech face is clean. Alright, coming up pretty clean. Alright, it is looking pretty good. Alright, when you're done with the inside, just wipe the outside. You probably got a couple little drops of solvent on the outside. wipe it down with the cloth. Cloth or patches and get it nice and spiffy. Alright, and you can set that aside. Let's move on to the frame. We're going to basically do the same thing, but I'm going to use a very, very tiny, just a little. Now I want to make sure I clean these rails here. This is where the slide moves back and forth. There's one there, one over here, one up front here, and one here. That's the most important thing to really get clean, and then you can kind of just look inside, and again just run this around in any of the metal places that you see. Kind of get any carbon out of there. Alright, and once you get that, and get your rag and just wipe everything off. Same way we did with the slide. Give everything you can with your fingers. Then you can use your brush to push it down into the tight spots. Kind of hold that and just kind of get fresh rags as needed. And then get your cotton swabs and just get in there and get the last bits that you couldn't get. See, there's a fair amount of dirt in there that's going to come off. All good. Alright, got the frame cleaned up pretty good here. And if the grips are dirty, you can just wipe them down with a cloth. Get a little gun oil or even soap and water would work well for this. I wouldn't get too much solvent on the plastic parts. And the last piece is going to be your recoil spring and guide rod. This really doesn't need much. I would just get a brush, brush that off. Probably doesn't really have much dirt, if any, on it. Give it a good wipe down with a cloth, and we should be good to go on that. Alright, as far as cleaning the magazine goes, these magazines can be disassembled, but I'm going to do that in a different video, and when I do that I'll link that up in the corner here. For our purposes here, we're just going to make sure it's clean, so just make sure you wipe it down. If it's real dirty or if you dropped it at the range, you might want to get a little drop of oil on a rag and just wipe it down that way. You don't want to leave too much oil residue on here. Just wipe it down to get it clean. And then you can clean in here a little bit. And just make sure that the follower moves up and down as it should. Examine the lips here, make sure nothing is bent or broken. And that's all we're going to do for the magazine here. Okay, to lubricate the M&P Shield Plus, we're going to follow the manual here. It says to use a high quality gun oil, and there's 7 places that we want to lubricate this gun. I've got just a couple different options here. I like to use original gun oil. This is non-toxic. It's also non-scented. So I do this in the house. I don't want to stink up the house. I don't want to worry about it being dangerous to get on my fingers or anything like that. So you can use something like this. I also like this Pro Shot Zero Friction if you like a real pinpoint applicator, this is perfect for that kind of thing. So this is another great option, and there's a whole lot of other ones out there. I'll put links in the description, but we're going to start with the original gun oil here. So it's real simple to lubricate. There are 5 places on the frame that it indicates to lubricate, and those are, you got the 4 rails. You got a rail here, rail, and then we're going to lubricate right in here at the end of the trigger bar. So you just want a very small amount of lube. I'm only going to put like just a touch. Just a touch there, and just a touch right in this area here. Alright, and just want to dab any excess off. Just leave a little on there. And the last 2 places are actually on the barrel. We want to put a drop here. The top of the barrel rubs along the top of the slide in there and right here. And what I would usually do, put 1 drop in each place, just kind of spread it around a little bit. This is where the barrel slides through this. The barrel goes through the front of the slide, so we want a little lube there. And just kind of get a film of lubricant around the barrel. Not much at all. If it feels like a lot, just can dab it off. You don't need much at all. And that is all the manual says for lubrication of the shield. Plus, I like to put just 1 little drop right here on this piece here, because that does perform a critical function, because that does slide and push the sear down. Alright, now we are ready to reassemble the Shield Plus. It's just the opposite of how we took it apart. Take your slide upside down, drop the barrel in, look like that. Take your recoil spring and guide rod, it goes in this way. It goes into the front, and then squeeze it so it sits down in that notch. You want that centered as much as possible. If it's not centered, you're not going to get the slide on, so that'll sit down like that. Alright, and then just line up the slide like this and simply push the slide onto the frame, go all the way back and lock it in place with the slide stop. Rotate your takedown lever back up like that, and then move the slide back and release it. Now that sear activation lever inside that you lowered at the beginning, all you need to do is insert a magazine and it'll put that back where it was, so you don't have to go back in there to do that. Alright, and now just work your slide a few times, make sure it feels right, and then we're going to go through a couple of quick function and safety checks. I'll put a link up here at the top so you can go to that next, just to make sure everything is functioning properly. Alright, if you like this video, please check out the links below in the description, hit the like button below, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.